Hey there, Chris Kroll here, managing editor of Solar Builder, back with another solar distancing. This week we have been focusing on the differences between grid-tied solar systems and grid-tied solar systems with storage. And today I am joined by Ian McCluskey, Associate Product Manager for Outback Power. Hey, Ian.
Hey, how's it going?
Going well. Looks like you're hunkered down there like everyone else. Where are you based out of?
Thanks for having me. I actually live in Arlington, just a few miles from the Outback office.
Oh, nice. Okay. Are things just shut down and horrible there right now?
We were very much at the epicenter, so yeah, things have been pretty quiet for a few weeks now. Life goes on. I think people are doing their best to stay at home and stay comfortable, and but yeah, we're doing all right.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, good luck out there. And that's why we're kind of with solar distancing trying to get into some of the basics here again, and maybe for people who are interested in being more energy independent, providing some of that basic information. So if someone out there has a PV system already and they're grid tied, but they want a little bit more, I guess, can they add storage, and how do they go about doing that?
Definitely, Chris. I think this question has come up a lot in the past few years since Hurricane Maria, the wildfires in California, the hurricane in Houston, and around the world, other natural and man-made disasters have brought this question to the forefront. And Outback is not the first company to address this, but I think Outback has a lot of big advantages, and there's a few names for it. The most generally accepted term is AC coupling, which means coupling the energy storage component of the system to the AC output of an existing grid-dependent inverter. So when we think about grid-dependent inverters, those are inverters that rely on an active electrical grid in order to continue functioning due to islanding requirements. So this is to prevent them from exporting energy to the grid during a disaster when there might be folks working on the electrical lines, which would be dangerous, of course, to have electricity coming from a solar system during those times. So AC coupling is what we like to call it. And basically the way it works is the Outback inverter charger, the Radian and or the Skybox, both are capable of this. It's going to act as the electrical grid for the grid-dependent inverter. So if you already have a solar system with a grid-dependent inverter on your roof or ground-mounted, you can connect it to the Outback Radian or Outback Skybox, which will simulate a grid-forming inverter like an Outback or Skybox, and that will allow the grid-dependent inverter to continue operating even if the grid power is out. This is a great alternative to having a generator or having to run a generator all the time. And there are a lot of advantages. I'll come to some limitations at the end here, but I think Outback has a lot of advantages, and we've grown really rapidly in this space since we released our first AC coupling option about a year ago. It's been just over a year since we released ours, and it's grown really quickly. It's been a big market for us, especially in California, the Southeast, and other countries. Outback has really strong generator protections. Outback has been around for over about 18 years now, and generators have always been an important part of our system. So the way that Outback integrates generators into AC coupling systems is really effective. Really good battery protection. So we protect on both voltage targets and current targets, which is most AC coupling solutions out there only protect based on voltage, which can allow for overcurrent and damaged batteries. And of course, you have the Outback service and support and lots of information available online, lots of training available online. Some limitations to keep in mind. So those are the advantages. Some limitations to keep in mind. You want to make sure that with a Radian and a Skybox with a single inverter, you only want to go up to 7.6 kilowatts of grid-dependent inverter per grid-forming inverter for both of those units. And the reason is to prevent the grid-dependent inverter from overpowering the waveform of the grid-forming inverter. So in short, make sure to check the documentation for size limitations, because it's not any size fits all. The system still has to be designed and sized appropriately with the right amount of energy storage to solar ratio. That's the main limitation that we see there. I think also it's important to keep in mind that just because, it sounds like it's plug and play, it still is it still requires a really strong working knowledge of solar equipment, energy storage, battery systems. So it's not something that we would recommend somebody do on their own. This is still something that you should hire a professional installer to do for you, and not just, slap a radiant onto your existing solar system.
Gotcha. Yeah, and so I just want to clarify for anyone out there, because obviously Outback, this is like kind of your wheelhouse. If someone has a system that already isn't equipped with an Outback inverter, I mean, how do they know if they can do this? I mean, can just any old PV inverter work?
Right. Thanks for bringing that up. No, so what we recommend is any UL 1741 SA compliant inverter should have the frequency watt shifting capability built in. And what that means is that those inverters will adjust their wattage output based on their input frequency. And that's what the Radiant uses to control, and the Skybox used to control the output of the inverter. So that allows them to actually get those 3-stage battery charging, that 3-stage battery charging in. Whereas if you go with an older inverter or a lower quality inverter that isn't SA compliant and only has over frequency tripping, what that can result in is, instead of getting like a full 3-stage battery charge in, all you're getting is it charges up to, the absorb target, and then it just drops out because it starts to raise that frequency up. And the older non-SA grid dependent inverters they'll just turn off. They'll see it as a bad frequency and they'll just shut off instead of slowly reducing their output. So most of the top, the biggest brands out there, the most common brands that you'll see, the microinverter brands, string inverter brands, optimizer brands, all of their latest inverters will work that are 1741 SA, have frequency watt shifting functions available, and they can be programmed appropriately for your AC coupled system.
Got it. Okay. Very cool. So are there any issues if you're doing a retrofit in terms of like the flexibility of the system versus, if you're starting fresh and you're doing solar plus storage right at the get-go? Does it work the same? What's different about it?
Well, for almost all residential systems, you're good to go in terms of sizing. With the Radiant, we fully support up to 4 radians, and we've seen and we're testing up to 6 radians stacked. So even for very large systems, you're good there. And generally, the flexibility is very similar to starting fresh with a DC coupled system. With AC coupling, you have a little bit more efficiency loss because there's more conversion stages than a DC coupled system. So we always recommend 100%, if you have a greenfield site that doesn't already have existing solar and you want to add energy storage, we almost always recommend DC coupling. But for existing solar, AC coupling is by far the best way to add storage rather than ripping out the entire system and replacing it with DC coupling.
Got it. Okay, perfect. I just realized I didn't use my title card that I made for today, adding energy storage to a grid tight system, and I put a lot of effort into it, so I wanted to make sure that I did.
Yeah, I like the plug in there.
So yeah. So I guess just last thing before I go, because now I've derailed everything. For anyone, for installers specifically interested in trying to do this and pitch it to customers, where can they go for training on this, and any advice that to get them up to speed on this?
Definitely. There's a lot of information on, don't just take it from Outback. There's a lot of third-party research and information on the website about frequency shifting and AC coupling in general. Full-on studies by utilities and other companies that have done really in-depth research. So that's a good place to start, of course, if you want to learn about what AC coupling is. And then in regards to the Outback AC coupling solution, check out the application page on our website. So if you go to outbackpower.com, there's an entire page section. There's an entire web section of our website devoted to AC coupling, where you can find all of our promotional materials, all of our training materials, like our white paper, the recordings of our webinars. We've done, a number of popular webinars on this solution. So the recordings are online. And then of course you can always reach out to myself, of course, And feel free to put my contact information in the, in the video link. Folks can always reach out to me with questions about AC coupling, and questions, feedback, any input on AC coupling. Happy to have a conversation about that.
Will you accept feedback on your mustache as well, or?
It's my first mustache, and I've been going for about 10 months now, so I'm pretty happy.
Okay, I mean, feedback for me is good. I'm just wondering, just throwing it out there.
Of course.
Ian, I appreciate it. That was some great info. Thanks for joining us today. And that does it for today's episode of Solar Distancing. Remember to stay safe out there, stay away, but then go solar.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Have a great day.